Legend of Total War here, and today I want to talk to you guys about Total War Warhammer 40k and about pre-ordering. So the game was announced a few days ago. There's a lot of hype and excitement around it, and I think that's awesome. So the game is not currently available to be pre-ordered just yet, but it will be available in the future most likely. And when that time comes, there's going to be a lot of discussion around it. But I won't be here active in the community when that time comes, but I'm going to make my statement now, and if you want to refer back to it later, you can do so, because the video will still be here, unless, it gets shut down for some reason. But anyway, I'm going to make my statement on people pre-ordering Total War Warhammer 40k, and what my thoughts are on that. If you want to put your hard-earned money down on Total War Warhammer 40k, developed by a company like Creative Assembly, 6, 8, 10 months before the game even comes out, you want to put that much trust into them, I think that that is completely and utterly fine. I got no problem with it whatsoever. If you want to purchase anything, as long as it's not hurting anyone else, I have no issue with that. It's your hard-earned money. You should be able to purchase whatever you want, and if that's what you want to, no one's forcing you to do it. If that's what you want to do, all the more power to you. And if you want to do that and not be judged by it, you'll see no judgment here from me. And I think that if you're just looking for a positive experience, great. And I wish you nothing but that positive experience. I hope that you can purchase this, and when 6, 8, 10 months after after that it comes out, I hope the game is exactly what you were expecting it to be, and that you get your money's worth and you have nothing but a positive time. Wish you nothing but positivity in the future and today, and I hope you have an amazing day. That's all I wanted to say, and I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Okay, so onto the real video now. Just want to state, obviously, I've done something a bit weird there. I'll just explain a little bit. I meant everything that I said there. I did mean it, but I omitted nuance. The reason why I've done that at the beginning there, positive title, positive thumbnail, positive start to the video. I'm going to call that the Reddit section. It's not a trap for them. It's basically like just giving them what they want. A lot of people these days, like you've heard it so many times, online discussion has become a poisoned well. I believe that very much. And it's not everyone, but it's a lot of people that they're not interested in discussion. They're interested in brigading or having their beliefs reaffirmed. And so what I wanted to do there was reaffirm their beliefs, because we can't change their mind, and I don't need to change their mind. They're going to pre-purchase it, cool. Go do that. And I meant it. Have a great time. Be positive. But usually their attention spans are about 2 minutes. So they watch that, they get a good feeling out of it. 2 minutes, they're out of here. Cool, done. They don't feel the need to brigade and to post this on Reddit or anything like that, and we can just move on and actually have a discussion. I don't care if this video only gets 1,000 views, but I'd much rather it have 1,000 views and we have an actual proper discussion where we can argue in like good faith or talk in good faith about this topic, rather than it get 1 million views based on fucking outrage. I really do not want to outrage farm, and that largely happens due to people assuming what I'm saying and then taking oh, he's being so negative, and then posting it everywhere, giving me more views, but bad views. People that actually, they come to like comment on the video without having listened to what I've had to say. And like I said, I'd much rather get 1,000 people that actually want to listen to what I have to say than 1 million people who didn't. Because I think that this topic of discussion is important, not just for Total War, because this applies to every fucking game studio, not just Creative Assembly. And in fact, Creative Assembly are not the most egregious offenders when it comes to this stuff. They're actually they're like maybe in one of the least worst offenders when it comes to this stuff. So it's not too bad with Creative Assembly. It's not too bad, but it's definitely not the best, and it could be a lot better. And the thing is, consumers have all the power. You have all the power in regard to pre-ordering, and there's a lot of psychology that happens with pre-ordering that I think a lot of people just aren't really familiar with. But I'm quite familiar with it, and I'll tell you why. Because pre-ordering is a sales tactic. It's done by sales, by marketing, basically 2 peas in a pod. And I used to be a salesperson, and so I've seen these techniques. I used to use these techniques, and I fucking hate these techniques. They're not nice. And I try to talk to you guys about this stuff to warn you that you're being manipulated. And some people you can't talk to, and that's fine. I'm not looking to upset them. Give them what they want, move them along. let's have an actual discussion. So the first thing I want to talk about here is sales and being what some examples of salespeople, right? And what I've seen. Well, didn't spend a lot of time being a salesperson, but a few years, and different examples of it, and how that applies to pre-ordering and what you should be aware and what techniques are being used on you so that you can at least be aware of it. Because the thing is, most people, when they're having a sales technique being used on them, they're not aware of it because you're not conscious necessarily of when you're being manipulated because of these techniques. They're very subtle ways of convincing you to do something that they want you to do that has no value for yourself. And it's also important to distinguish why even make this video, right? What's my incentive of doing this, right? Keep this in mind. My incentive, I am positively incentivized to this. Everybody is always going to work in their own best interest. You shouldn't trust anyone that doesn't work in their own best interest, basically, because there's usually something dubious going on, usually. So it's in my best interest for people to be smart consumers because that will lead to, in my opinion, a better product. A better product means that I get a better game. That's what I want. That's what I've always wanted. Now, even though I'm leaving the Total War community, I may end up purchasing Total War Warhammer 40k, but I'm only going to purchase Total War Warhammer 40k if it's going to be good. And I want it to be good. I really hope it's going to be good. And so this is just like think of this as a small amount of time investment that I can pass on a little bit of my knowledge to you. And that might give me a 0.001% chance of this game actually being slightly better on launch. That's all it is. Minimal investment from me, chance of it being better. Oftentimes in the past, it hasn't worked out. But you know what? You take a dice roll, you take a chance. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just how it is. Anyway, but that's my incentive. So I think by telling you what my incentive is, hopefully you can realize that hopefully we have the same goal. We want the game to be good. How is pre-ordering positively or negatively affecting that? All right, so let's talk about salespeople first. So salespeople don't usually get involved in the product. I've worked at various sales companies, worked at sales within companies, right? The most notable that people will be aware of is I've said I've worked at a trampoline company. The reason why I talk about that one is because it was like the best of the sales jobs. I had to do the least amount of bullshit, let's put it that way, in order to do my job. And one thing I don't ever talk about was one of my first sales jobs, which was where I had to do the most amount of bullshit. It was always kind of ridiculous. And I'm going to give you one example of something that I personally witnessed without giving too many details because I don't want to dox anyone. So in this particular company, we were like a broker for a subscription service. So this is everybody has this that they have to subscribe to in Australia, at least. You have to have this. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. But everyone has it. And so our job was to get the customer from one subscription service to another. Like they offer the same product, but different prices, different deals or whatever. And sometimes we'd be able to offer them a better deal. And that would be a fairly easy sale because it would just be like, hey, look, you're going to save $20, $30 a month by being on this service instead of the one that you're currently on. Cool. It was a good deal, right? But we got paid mostly in commission. And so what ended up happening a fair bit is that people were just always on better plans than what we had to offer. And so it made our job quite difficult, especially when you're on a commission-only basis. And so what I started seeing is people basically pushing the sales so hard that they were essentially scamming people. Where one example, a guy calls up someone and trying to get them to switch to a different subscription service. Now, the service was inferior. It was a big inferior. They pushed hard, they used all these sales techniques, and they got the sale in the end. And the thing is, the amount of commission that person made was less money than what they had just scammed that person from. Like the service that they had just subscribed to was more expensive than what the commission was worth. It would have been a better transaction if the person called up and said, can I have X amount of dollars? And the customer had just given them the money. That would have been a better deal for them. And I saw this happen multiple times, but one particular case was particularly egregious. And there was no ramifications for doing so because the person had just done their job. They had sold to the customer. They had manipulated them and used sales techniques, and it worked. And the thing is, I wasn't angry at the customer for falling for it. I was angry at the fucking system for allowing this shit to happen. One thing that I have seen in my various different sales jobs is that the more often that it was commission based, or the more revenue that we would make based on commission relative to wages, the more underhanded salespeople that we would see. So at the trampoline job, which was mostly wage, tiny amount of commission, there was like no scamming. There was no need to. There was no incentive to push the sale. If someone didn't want the product, I'm not going to waste my time on it. Just move on to the next one, right? And with the other ones, it was like every sale freaking counted, and it was dodgy basically, and it gave me some insight into the minds of salespeople, and I see that a lot in the gaming industry now, especially when marketing and stuff. And pre-ordering is preying on the exact same things that we did back then, you know, in that sales companies, and people just aren't aware when they're being sold to a lot of the time. They're not aware of it because you've got all these flashy things going on. Look how cool these Space Marines look, you know, and that's all cool. That's the whole point of it. It's smoke and mirrors to get you hyped up. But the purpose of it is to extract money from you. And I think a lot of people are aware of it, but they don't understand like the extent that this can actually not necessarily like not benefit you. Now, a lot of people will look at something like pre-ordering and being like, what's the big deal, right? You put $80 down. Look, I'm just going to guess and say that it's going to be $80 US, but it could be more, it could be less, who knows? Let's just say it's $80 US for Warhammer 40k. I mean, we don't have any information on that, do we? No. What's the big deal? You put down $80. It's a small purchase, only price of 3 pizzas, right? What's the big deal? And then you get the game 6 months later or whatever it is. Here's the psychology behind it. When you have purchased something that far in advance, the longer the time between you having paid for something and then you having received the product reduces the chances that you will refund the product if it is shit or below your expectations. If you basically, the closer the distance to the purchase compared to the product, the higher the chances. So somebody that purchases the product the day of it coming out, not liking it, they are far more likely to refund it than someone that purchased it 6 months ago or 8 months ago or 12 months ago. And the reason for that is because we put up, as human beings, everyone is susceptible to it, including myself, and it helps to be aware of basically our own flaws as human beings, our mental cognitive dissonance. We trick ourselves into convincing ourselves that we made the right decision when it was clearly stupid, right? So when we put up like mental blocks, and you hear people saying this, oh guys, it was only the price of a couple of pizzas, you know, it's not that big of a deal, they're going to fix it eventually, blah, 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 blah. You see all this kind of stuff. But when in reality, well, what's the difference between you paying it 6 months and the day before? The only difference is the 6 months, right? Now, that the amount of money may not seem like a big difference, but the mindset is. Now, I want you to think about, in regard to Creative Assembly specifically, how often do they release a game in a good state? It does happen, but it's fucking rare, right? Look specifically at Rome 2 and Warhammer 3 as specific examples of where they fucked up. And these are 2 specific examples where there was massive pre-orders. Now, I certainly had my part to play in Total War Warhammer 3, and I massively regret it. I do my best to try to make up for it now, essentially. But we'll use Rome 2 as the first example. Rome 2 was like the most pre-ordered Total War game at the time. And would you say that Rome 2 released at a good state? No. And the thing is, they knew that it wasn't going to be released at a good state. But why did they release it? If they knew it was in that bad of a state, why didn't they just delay it a little bit longer to avoid that backlash? Well, it comes down to this. People had pre-ordered it so far in advance. And let me ask you a question. How many of you cancelled your... how many of you refunded the game after? Some of you will have. Like I said, it doesn't guarantee it, but it does reduce the chances of it. How many people refunded the game after having pre-ordered it, 6 months in advance? Like if you pre-ordered it 2 days beforehand, that doesn't count because you're close to the refund, like normal zone. But if you pre-ordered it 6 months in advance, if you pre-ordered 6 months in advance, did you refund it after it came out and you weren't happy with it? Or did you do this? Make excuses. Go, this is not what I wanted to play, but they'll fix it eventually, and eventually I'll get my money's worth, and I'm sure I'm going to get 1,000 or 2,000 hours into it. And yeah, you know what? I'm putting an investment into this, and it's only the price of 6 pizzas or whatever. You've heard loads of different types of excuses. Which did you do? Did you refund it or did you make excuses? The thing is, if you pre-order, you're way more likely to make those excuses. Who benefits the most from you making those excuses? They do. Because they've sold you a product that's not finished and they got your money. Also, when they've got your money for longer, they can invest your money. Now, for you, investing $60, probably doesn't, $80 or whatever, is no big deal. But them investing $80 times 2 million over a course of 6 months, it's a lot of money. Now, I'm all for developers making as much money as they want. And if it was the case that pre-ordering guaranteed quality of product, I wouldn't be saying anything right now. But it doesn't. If anything, it's actually the opposite. Pre-ordering oftentimes actually, the more that people pre-order something, it actually kind of increases the chances of it having a bad launch. And I'll tell you why. These companies, most of them, it's not unique to Creative Assembly, and as I've said, they're not the worst offenders with this. These companies are managed, run by, and controlled by people who are not gamers. When Roger Cullum says things like, Total War is our everything, fucking liar, don't trust anything that dude has to say. I've heard rumors about him. He's not interested in Total War whatsoever. He's just a fucking accountant, okay? Couldn't give less of a shit about the game. His job is to extract money from you. That's what he actually cares about, and he's going to tell you anything that you think you want to hear. He'll say, we love you, we're so sorry, and he'll tell you anything that you want to hear in order to extract money from your pocket. And the best way to do that is to give you the product that you want. But sometimes making the product is expensive, whereas offering you a promise of a product, well, that's cheap. And so, companies are going to be incentivized towards the path of least resistance. Whichever path leads to the most amount of money with the least amount of effort required. Basically the most profitable path. And pre-ordering is something that presents a relatively friction-free path, especially because consumers tend to be very forgiving, especially Total War consumers. How many infinite chances is Creative Assembly going to get? But anyway, and so they're going to take these paths because it incentivizes them. So with the pre-orders, you've pre-ordered, I'm going to use 2 examples here, right? You take a path where there's 2 million pre-orders for Total War Warhammer 40k 6 months in advance, right? The salespeople, they're in charge of when the game gets out, right? They're not doing the actual work of the developers. The developers sometimes come onto these videos and things like that, but it's likely scripted or the marketing is controlling exactly what they say. If a developer ever came out and said, the game is not ready, we've got some serious concerns about the launch date, do you know how quick that person would be fired? They've got NDAs, they're clamped down on. They can't say a fucking thing. They're completely tightly controlled. They say exactly what they're told to say and nothing more. But anyway, so marketing's in control of this stuff, and sometimes the game's just not ready. It needs a bit more time in the oven. And the thing is, if they've got 2 million pre-orders of a game that is not quite ready, and they're like, well, we've got their money, and maybe of those 2 million pre-orders, we might see a 2% refund rate. They make the judgment call, it is more profitable for us to release the game now in a shit state than to put another 6 months into it and like make sure it's actually a good launch, because we've got their money now. We need to tell the shareholders that we actually got the money. It's a shit system, and it leads to this happening all the fucking time. Now, so that's example number 1 of like a pathway, which is what usually happens. Loads and loads of pre-orders built up on hype. People buy it 6 months in advance. It's gonna be good, guys. Just give them time to develop it. But then there's option B, which is very rarely taken. So option B is where the community go, okay, I probably do want this game, but I'm not going to pre-order it. So 6 months after, 6 months in advance, only 100,000 people pre-order it. Significantly lower than the first option. And these are, of course, Redditors. I'm just going to use that as an example. You know what I mean. I'm not specifically trying to target Reddit, but you know what I mean. Soft consumers, let's put it that way. And it's way lower than their sales target. They're all going to have sales targets. Otherwise, why would they bother doing so much marketing? They don't do this shit for fun. They do it to get you hyped up so that you'll take money out of your wallet and put it into theirs. That's the whole point of it. Most of the marketing team at Creative Assembly, they don't even play this game. They can't play it for shit. And they're just not. They're not even really fans at all. So they're just there to extract money from you. Like when I was working at the trampoline company. Do you think I fucking cared about the trampoline? No. Do you think I fucking cared about that subscription service? I couldn't give a shit. Never ever gave a shit about the product I was selling. The only thing I cared about was my commission and my pay, because that's my job and that's what I was there for. It's the same thing with this. Everything that we see here, this is sales. This is them showing you what they think you want to see, and they don't give a shit about it themselves. Because this here, this image, for example, this is probably not even in the real game. We saw this in Rome 2. What they did was they built a separate program with assets from the game and tried to simulate what the game was probably going to be. But it wasn't actually part of the game. And that's why it was such a big difference between the Siege of Carthage video and the actual Siege of Carthage that you can play today. Because that was not in-game. Obviously, it's a bit better now than it used to be, but that's what Rome 2 had something like 40% of its marketing. Sorry, 40% of its budget was just marketing. Fucking ridiculous. And the thing is, it works. It convinces people to buy something and probably get more sales than they otherwise would. People don't refund because of the sunk cost fallacy. They feel embarrassed because they pre-ordered something 6 months in advance. People will oftentimes convince themselves, like how many times, oh my God, I'm going around in circles with this, but anyway, how many times have you bought something, realized it wasn't really that good? Like maybe you've gone to a movie and you've watched a movie at the cinema and you thought the movie was pretty shit, right? But you convinced yourself that it wasn't that shit because that was your last $20 in your wallet or something like that. Or you bought a burger and you're like, this burger's shit, but I was really hungry and so I guess it's okay. I got value out of it. Make excuses after the fact that you make excuses for the decisions that you've made that were not the best decisions, basically. Marketing, sales, prey on that. Now they're not counting on you on the game being shit. They don't deliberately hope it's going to be shit. What the whole point of marketing and then the pre-orders is, it's a contingency plan. It's like a plan B. It's like, well, this gives us a safety net in case we fuck up. So it's not a case of do or die, like most companies should be. It's like if you release too many bad products in a row, maybe companies should go out of business. It's like regardless of whether we succeed or fail, we always succeed. It's like the game is rigged, and it's rigged against you, the consumer, because you're the one that loses out in the end. Not every time. I mean, there's always a chance that 2 million people pre-order, they nail the launch. That is always a possibility. But you decrease the chance of it happening by pre-ordering in large numbers. You increase the chance of it being a great launch by decreasing your pre-orders, because this is what happens. You get it down to like 100,000, can't get it down to zero, 100,000 pre-orders, right? What happens when you get close to launch? Well, so the boss comes in and goes, all right, how many pre-orders are we at? And the freaking sales team there, like sweating bullets going, oh, we don't understand. We've done all this marketing. We're showing them all this cool stuff. We've hidden all the bad stuff in the game. But we just can't seem to push pre-orders. We don't understand what's going wrong. Like, oh, shit. Well, what's the state of the game in? Well, we've got 3 mechanics that don't work well. We've got glitches over here and over there. The siege battles, they don't really work. Well, and we know the game's going to come out tomorrow, and then the guy who makes all the decisions goes, oh shit, we should probably delay it because nobody's bought it. Well, very few people have bought it up until that point, and you're going to have not that many people upset by delaying it because it's only 100,000 people. Whereas you've got 2 million people that are waiting for it and expecting it on a certain day. They're more upset by being a delayed than it being a bad launch. It's freaking ridiculous in some cases. And so you're far more likely to have them actually release it when it's actually good, as opposed to whenever they think it's going to be good and they've already got your money. It's never a guarantee, but you increase your chances of you as a consumer forcing the company to do better. Because in case A, they're incentivized to release the game on time because it doesn't fucking make much of a difference. It's actually more profitable to release a game in a buggy, shitty state earlier than it is later. I'll give you the example in Shogun 2. This is something that I heard, right? So Shogun 2 was delayed, and they wanted it to be a fantastic launch. And Shogun 2 is largely considered to be one of the best Total War games, right? which it is. How many people complain about Shogun 2's launch? Anyway, so it was delayed so that they could really refine it. And they put it in, I don't know, 6 months extra, a few months extra. I don't know exactly how much time. They got a bit extra time in the oven. And they released the game, and everyone was happy with it. Later down the track, Sega or whoever makes these decisions assessed that they actually regretted not releasing it earlier because they thought that they would have actually made more money if they had released it in a worse state, but had put less time developing it. And they probably only were able to justify the delay due to maybe a lack of pre-orders, because pre-ordering wasn't as big of a thing back then. They had to release a good game. This is why back in like the old days, back in the early before Steam and before online games, we actually had to buy a disc. If your game wasn't ready and you put it on a disc and you put it in the CD-ROM, DVD-ROM, and it didn't work, take it straight out of the CD-ROM, put it straight back in the case, back to GameStop, refund. Straight away. Never play that game again. That's it, they've lost the sale. That game had to be ready on launch, but due to online stuff and the fact that you can do patches and stuff, which is a good thing, it doesn't have to be. In fact, games can be utterly fucking terrible on launch. Civilization 7, perfect example. Absolutely fucking horrendous. That's probably the most egregious example I've seen of a strategy game. I can't even have the words for it, it's so bad. I'll give Warhammer 3 some credit. As bad as that launch was, it wasn't as bad, in my opinion, as Civilization 7 was. I'm not even invested in Civ 7. Anyway, so whatever. So by not pre-ordering, you increase the chances that they're going to make sure the game is finished. But there's no guarantee, basically. There's always a chance that they've given it about as much chance at time as they can, and they just have to launch it. They just can't delay it any further, regardless of the amount of pre-orders. But you increase the chances of it being better. Now, the thing is, you'd think, but wouldn't it be better for the company in the long run if they did release it on time anyway? Yes, it would be for the state of the entire company, but it's not in the best interest of the salespeople. And when they're the ones making the decisions, and the shareholders are the ones that are actually the people that they're trying to please, not the customer, then the incentives are around the wrong way, basically. The incentive is to extract money, not to create a product, because whether you are happy with the product or not is irrelevant. What matters is whether or not you paid for the product and maintained your payment for the product. That's the only thing that matters. So all of this and the state of the game, it's all just to keep you paid onto the game. But hopefully you get what you paid for. So another thing I want to talk about is other people within the community and why you're not going to have other people explain this. For one thing, you're not going to have that many other people in the community that are the sales or ex-sales people. I definitely do not want to go back into sales, but anyway, still learned a lot from it. But it comes down to incentives. Everybody works on their own incentives, and sometimes people think that they're working. Other people are working on their best interests when in fact they're not. When it comes to YouTubers, and I've been guilty of this myself, it is incentivized not to be critical of a business's, like developers' business practices. If they are critical of minor things that aren't going to affect their business practice, right, their overall bottom line, they're not going to get into trouble for it. But nobody is really going to risk not getting early access because of pre-ordering. No one's going to risk putting a target on their back and also risk not getting early access to tell you guys how the situation actually is. There's no incentive for them to do that, especially when there's a lot of perceived value in early access. The thing for me, though, is that I understand that early access is actually a pissed well. It's actually got no value whatsoever. And the reason for that is because if everyone has something, then nobody has something. If everyone is trying to do the exact same thing, then everything is boring and shit. The only way to be successful on YouTube, truly be successful, is to stand out and to be unique and to, sometimes you can do that from within Creative Assembly or a partner program, and sometimes you can't. And I've spoken to so many creators, they don't want to risk this kind of trouble because, to put you as a target on both sides, not much incentive to do so. But the thing is for me is that with this video, for example, if I get a shitload of hate from the Reddit, who fucking cares? They can go fuck himself. I don't care. if I get a shitload of hate from Creative Assembly, they can go fuck themselves. I don't care. I don't work for them, and I don't work for the Reddit either. I don't give a shit what they think. I just didn't want them to poison. I don't want them to piss in my well. Basically, I'm not trying to piss in their well. Stop fucking pissing in mine. But anyway, so what am I actually trying to do? I just want a fucking good game. And the thing is, we all need to work together to make that happen, because we, the consumer, have loads of pressure that we can put on Creative Assembly. And I need your help, basically. And this is why I've made these videos, because I can't do these things on my own. I need you to understand how these things are, so that you can not fall into the fucking predatory traps that these companies do. Again, it's not just Creative Assembly, and then far from the worst offenders. So that the end result is good game. Because, you know, I'm leaving the Total War community very soon. I've got a limited amount of time here. I want to try to have as much impact as I can in the limited amount of time that I've got left. And I'm at a state now where it's like, there's nothing that they can really do to me that's like, there's no amount of hate that you can throw at me that is going to make any difference now. So I would love it if Warhammer 40k comes out and it's just fucking awesome. I may not come back as a YouTuber. I might, we'll see. But I would love to purchase this game and for it to be the best game I've ever played. That is the best case scenario for me. And it always has been the best case scenario with any Total War game. It has never been the best case scenario for me for like Creative Assembly to be upset or for Redditors to be upset. That's not the best case scenario. That's just like an unfortunate consequence. That's my incentive, and it always has been my incentive. So hopefully I'm speaking to people that have the same incentive, that you just want this game to be the best it can be. And unfortunately, you have to put leverage on the fucking marketing and salespeople. You have to make it on them that it is not profitable for them to release this game in a bad state. And the best way to do that is by not pre-ordering. But that being said, if you want to pre-order, I'm not going to judge you. Just like I'm not going to judge that person that got scammed at the company that I worked for. I am going to blame the company for allowing that shit to happen. It should never have happened there, and it shouldn't be happening here. Because it's industry standard, they get away with it. And here's some perfect examples, right? Look at Madden with the football stuff. I don't really follow it too much apart from rumors and stuff that Angry Joe basically makes videos on. But I love watching Angry Joe. Basically, every year I love to watch Angry Joe's video on Madden. I've never played Madden in my life. Do you know why I like to watch that one specifically? Because it's so fucking funny. Because every year he gets angrier and angrier at the game. And I go, oh my God, here is a community that's actually more stupid than the Total War community. And it makes me feel better knowing that we're not the dumbest out there, basically. Because every year they get a game that's even worse than what came before. And every year they just buy it again and again and again. And then they go, I don't understand. Why is it shit this year again? It's because you fucking bought it, you fucking moron. They don't care about making a good game. They care about extracting money from you. All that they had to do was not buy it. Don't buy it, don't pre-order it, and they have to either make it or stop. But again, that is a mindset that some people have. It's like, oh, well, if I don't buy it, then the company will go about business, and I'd rather them make a shit Total War game than not a game at all. It's the risk that you play, I don't know. But then there's another example as well. The Blood Pack with Total War Warhammer 40k, or lack thereof. So Blood Pack has been a staple of every Total War game up until now. Why is it that all of a sudden that the Warhammer 40k is going to be the first Total War game since Napoleon, essentially, that doesn't have a Blood Pack? Why is that? If it wasn't for the entire community, most of the community, ridiculing Creative Assembly for the Blood Pack, making fun of them and saying how stupid it was, if it wasn't for all the negative reviews they got because of it, and also because it was never made industry standard, because other developers saw the ridicule that Creative Assembly gets for this stupid system, which makes no sense other than extracting money from you. And again, you're going to have people making excuses for it. Hopefully we got rid of them at the beginning though, but we'll see. Oh, Legend is to go to PG. Fucking off. Fuck off. Just fuck off. You know, stupidest bloody argument that I've ever heard with this. But anyway, the reason why they do it is because they can make money. And because of all the other companies not doing it and probably making fun of them behind their back, they've now decided not to be the laughingstock of the entire gaming industry by putting a 40k game out that had a blood pack. But I guarantee that if there wasn't so much pressure put on them to not do this kind of shit, that Warhammer 40k would have a blood pack. So the amount of ridicule and pressure that you put on Creative Assembly or just any games company does affect the decisions they make, and it can lead to either more or less consumer-friendly behaviors. And do you want to be like the Madden community, which are fucking retarded, and just buy, like, if you buy Madden 20, I don't know what number it's up to now. If you buy the next Madden game, you're a retard. There's just no way. There's just no other way to say it. Like, how can you even think that this game, like that game, the last 5 games just haven't worked, right? Or even longer than that. Like, the only people that should buy that game are people who are going to make videos of it, essentially, just to ridicule it. I don't want to see the Total War community head in that direction, but the thing is, I think it's heading in that direction. Don't be like that. Don't be like the Madden community. Be more like the Paradox community. Do you know what the thing is with the Paradox community? Paradox can't take a fart without getting their entire community up in their ass. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. And so we just had something like the EU5 launch, which, it has its criticisms, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we see coming out of a Total War game in recent decades. And it shows how much they learn from their past mistakes, because their community puts a shitload of pressure on them. Best way to put pressure on them: don't engage with their marketing. Like, if you want to enjoy it, by all means, enjoy the trailers and everything like that. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. But if you want to write down "shut up and take my money," I can't stop you. But you're not working in your best interest, because the thing is, when you say "shut up and take my money," they're gonna do that. Don't give them license to do that. How about this? Make a good game and take my money. Why not say that instead? Make a good game and take my money. Well, all right then, I'll do that. I have no problem with that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on all this. I know it went on for a little bit, but I wanted to be thorough with stuff with pre-orders. Sales are like a necessary evil for these companies. So it's not like we should get rid of their sales department. That's not what I'm saying at all. But salespeople are always going to do what's in their best interest, what they're going to be incentivized with. And these companies with pre-orders, there's an incentive for them to do so. But it'd be interesting to see whether or not Creative Assembly even does a pre-order. If it's not in their best interest to have a pre-order, 6 months in advance, then they won't do it. Especially if in some way will embarrass them. But based on what I've seen over like the past couple of days, I would be very surprised if this didn't sell 1 million copies before launch. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. But if I've convinced even one person that, you know what, instead of buying it 6 months in advance, I'll buy it the day before, then that's a small win. Like I said, I'd rather get 1,000 good views than 1 million bad views. And that's all of this is to get around all this fucking bullshit. And I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish I could just press play, just say, hey guys, don't pre-order, bad idea, and that'd be the end of the video. But that's just not effective. I don't even know what is effective. I've only got a few days left, really, and I'll do the best I can with my messaging, and I can discuss this stuff on streams if you want to know more information. And if you've watched up until this point and you completely disagree with me, by all means, post a comment. Oh, you know what? I've already had arguments with people about this stuff. So, and they've actually made some good points. Not everyone's in the same circumstance. For example, here are some good examples of when you actually it's a good idea to pre-order. So, regional pricing affects different countries differently, right? Being part of Australia, the game will be $80 today. It'll be $80 tomorrow. It'll be $80 a year from now. It'll be $90 in 10 years. That's sort of how it works. Same thing with probably the UK and US. But in places like Turkey and Poland, regional pricing is it's all over the place. And so pre-purchasing it on one day guarantees that price, because if they buy it 2 days before launch, it could actually be twice the price due to the regional pricing. I don't know exactly how it works, but they say it's actually cheaper for them to buy it like 6 months in advance. If you're in that sort of category where there's an actual real reason to buy it early, do so. But also be mindful of the psychological effect of having purchased something 6 months ago, and how you put up a bit of a wall to not to refund it if it's not exactly what you want. Just be aware of that. You're in a bit of a catch-22 situation there. Also, another example, and this is one of the best cases I think across the entire games industry, and it's something that Creative Assembly did. And I always try to give Creative Assembly credit where credit's due. It's just that it happens so very rarely. But anyway, they actually did one of the most consumer-friendly pre-order practices, and they've only ever done it once, and that was with the pre-order bonus for Warhammer 2. You pre-order Warhammer 2, and you get Norska now. If they do something like that for Total War Warhammer 40k, like as an example, if they say pre-order Total War Warhammer 40k and get Lords of the End Times half price or free, and you get to play it now, that's a good reason to pre-order it, because you put your money down and you get something straight away. It gives you actual value, and that's what it's really all about: providing the customer with as much value as possible, and not like providing them with no value, because you pre-ordering it 6 months in advance provides you with actually no value. And like I said, it actually increases the chance of, just slightly, increases the chance of a bad launch, whereas you not pre-ordering actually decreases the chance of a bad launch, because it puts more pressure on them to actually launch a good product. Just like in the old days where there were no pre-orders, where they had to launch a good product. None of it's ever a guarantee. All we can do is try to increase our odds. Like, think of it like this. Imagine you're playing XCOM, and you've got an 80% chance of shooting. You know, basically 1% chance of actually hitting. And then you've got like a little modifier that you can put on yourself that gives it an extra 5%. That's all this is right here. By not pre-ordering, you're giving yourself a tiny little modifier that increases the chance of success. It still could end up a complete shit dumpster fire, but increasing the chance of success is better than decreasing it. That's what I'm saying with this. But yeah, if you disagree with anything that I've said in this video, fuck you. You may be upset. No, I'm not going to use an emotional argument. But you know, more than welcome to hear out your arguments in the comment section. And you know, next time there won't be a next time, will there? You know, you could potentially change my mind, as people have, like with the regional pricing stuff. Like I said, there are always exceptions. I just can't list out every single goddamn exceptions. I've heard a lot of other ones as well, but like I said, I just can't sit here and just listing out exceptions constantly. As a general rule of thumb, it is not in the consumer's best interest for you to pre-order. So what am I going to do with Total War Warhammer 40k? I would like to purchase this, but I am not going to purchase this until after it comes out. I want to know that it's actually good after it comes out before I purchase it. I will not play playing this on day 1. I might play it on day 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I'm not going to trust any YouTube reviews, because I know from personal experience, you can't trust it because of the embargo system. The embargo system that they set up for reviews means that, and they've not changed this at all since the time I was in there, all of the creators have to put out basically the exact same content at the exact same day at the same time, which is why every video ends up being more or less the same. It's like, you can show this character on this day, you can show that character on that day. You can't do a review until 2 days before launch, which is after a month of hyping it up, and people have already pre-ordered, and they're too late. It's too late to bloody tell them that the game is shit. And so reviews become worthless after you've already hyped it up for a month. Very hard lessons I had to learn with that. But anyway, all I really want is for everyone to get the best deal, or get their money's worth, basically. But yeah, I am not going to purchase this game if it's shit. If it comes out and it's like, oh, this game is shit, it has a bad launch, I'm not going to purchase it. But if it is good, I will purchase it. It comes down, it's really just that simple. And I want it to be good. The best chance of it being good is if collectively the community this time around doesn't fall into the fucking trap of pre-ordering it and shut up and take my money. But if you, again, I'm repeating myself so many times, if you do that, I'm not going to blame you, because it's not your fault. It's their fault, and it's the system's fault for allowing this shit to happen. Just like what happened in that company. It is what it is. Hopefully this has helped at least one person. I hope it's provided some information, and I really do hope, I mean this sincerely, that you get everything that you pay for, and that you don't feel scammed, and that you're happy with your purchases. I think that's what everyone wants. Now, I don't want to put out negativity, but sometimes you got to be critical in order to get what you want. It's just the world we live in. If you don't fight for it, you will not get it, or you'll get half of what you want, or whatever. You got to advocate for yourself. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Appreciate those of you who watched through the whole thing, and for those of them that only watched the first 2 minutes, as long as they don't fucking bother me about it, great. Please don't post this on the Reddit. Please argue in good faith. I'm only making these videos for my own benefit, which is for there to be a good game. And if you go out there and misrepresent what I've said, then you're not working in my best interest, and you're also not working in your own best interest either. And I'm not going to engage with you if you're going to do that. But I appreciate everyone that has watched this nonetheless. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys.